We have canon law. We have, that's the Church of England's law. We have halakha for the Jewish community, and there is Sharia law. It's within those communities, and it's a way of settling disputes within the community.
Setting aside the Sharia law nonsense, I mean, I'm a Londoner born and bred, and it's the first I've heard that I might be living under Sharia law, and I don't think I will somehow.
So guys, as you saw from the introduction, Barry Gardner and Richard Madley are basically coming to the aid of Sadiq Khan and fighting his battles for him. And why wouldn't they? Barry Gardner is a woke Labour MP, and Richard Madley is a presenter for Good Morning Britain. So of course they're going to side with woke ideology. What makes it even more crazy is the fact that Barry Gardner is sitting down with his whole chest and saying that we have Sharia courts, you know, in pockets in the United Kingdom to settle disputes. This is clearly showing the British law being undermined. People are coming in for a better life, they're claiming, but they don't want to adhere to British laws. If they want Sharia courts, laws, whatever, they know where to go. And there's many countries, over 50 countries they can go to, Muslim nations, that can facilitate them with, you know, whatever law they want to abide by. But in UK, there should be UK law. For Barry Gardner to be sitting down with his whole chest and basically saying that, yes, there's things we can't do, you know, in pockets in the UK because they are run by, you know, Sharia, there's Sharia courts that they adhere to, is silly. And it proves Donald Trump's point that, you know, they're here to take over. Whether you like it or not, they are here to take over. And very quickly, guys, I don't want to take you too long with the introduction, but, you know, why not note down, you know, Sadiq Khan's failures and incompetencies? You know, people are not happy in London. Note that down. You don't need to always side with the left. You can be honest about things, but they didn't even do that. In this debate you're going to watch shortly, they're basically just saying, yeah, what Donald Trump says has no merit to it. That's number one. Number two, Sadiq Khan does need to come out and state publicly that he wants Sharia law. This is something that every Muslim must adhere to. They must understand that this is the eventual goal for them in Western nations, Sharia law. They may not say it. They may be quiet. They may want to avoid it. They may say no. But if they're really a Muslim and they take their religion seriously, then this is what they advocate for, you know, eventually. So this is just facts. So you can sit down and say, he never said this, he never said that. Yeah, but he wants it. Believe me. If he could vote for it right now, he would have it because his religion tells him that he must go in that direction. But anyway, guys, let's get straight into the video.
Barry, you're a London MP. You're a friend of Sadiq Khan's. What did you make of it?
Yes, of course. Look, let's be clear about Sharia law. And you say there is no Sharia law in London. We have canon law. We have, that's the Church of England's law. We have halakha for the Jewish community. And there is Sharia law. It's within those communities, and it's a way of settling disputes within the community, right? That there is no distinction there. But the idea that Sharia law has taken over London, everybody is subject to Sharia law, of course is nonsense, right? Now let's look at the other elements of what the president said. He talked about crime in London. If you look at the figures of homicide, and you compare them with New York, homicide in London over the past 5 years has been between 1 and 1.5 per 100,000 population. In New York, it's 4 to 5.5 over the past few years.
Yeah, it's a big issue.
You know, New York suffers from this much more, and so does Washington D.C. actually.
And Chicago,
Greg,
where I have a home, you know, and look, that's an issue in the U.S. And again, it goes back to what are the big issues for the people? It's mass migration or illegal migration in the U.S. and here. It's cost of living, which you know really computes to energy policy. and it's crime, and especially in the big cities. And so those are the things that he's addressing. You know, he did it in Washington. He would like to do it in Chicago. I have a home there. I wish that he would do it in Chicago. So those are big issues that he's addressing. So it's sort of apples and oranges, because the crime rates in American cities have always been much higher than in London, of course.
Don't you think it should be physician heal thyself?
I think,
of course. Focus on Chicago.
And that's where the focus is. And that's where it is.
Setting aside the Sharia law nonsense, I mean, I'm a Londoner born and bred, and it's the first I've heard that I might be living under Sharia law, and I don't think I will somehow. Isn't it incredibly small time for an American president to address the UN about a city mayor in this country? I mean, I can't imagine Kennedy, for example, talking about the London mayor at the time at the UN, or Clinton talking about the London mayor. It's infinitesimally small time. This is a guy with such tiny grudges, and he doesn't have the sensibility or even the sense of embarrassment of what it sounds like when he airs them in a forum like that. Well, how ridiculous it sounds.
Yeah, he's a different kind of president. And
say that again.
Right, and in a good way. He's provocative, he's unconventional. So all the polite diplomacy of past presidents ultimately were failures, right? So, we're addressing energy. Again, Reagan tried it, didn't work. He's addressed it, and I think he's bold in what he says. And so if he does some things that are uncomfortable, or some people view as, insensitive, all the better, because
I just think that particular case it is those things.
As I said,
it's also fundamentally petty.
It's a distraction, petty. And I think sometimes it takes away from the more important things. And when the headline is Sadiq Khan instead of energy policy, migration policies.
Aren't you accept that some of the things he said here just aren't true, and he's using his position and the world stage, if you like, something like the United Nations, where everyone's listening. There's obviously a lot of issues and conflicts in the world, and he's using it to spout things that aren't true.
Well, he uses hyperbole. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. But he also says what people are thinking. And again, without the details of whether Sharia law is coming to London.
But it's not true. He's saying things that aren't true.
But he knows that mass migration is a big issue. And I found this in Ireland and here in the UK. When the polls say that mass migration and cost of living are 1 and 2, and the government spends all of their energy policing misinformation and addressing the existential crisis of climate change, a total disconnect. And so what the president is doing is he's listening to the people. And I think you're seeing that with parties on the right that are leading in the polls here in the UK, France, Spain.
Guys, look at the statistic currently on your screen right now. It's from The Telegraph. By 2063, the white population in the United Kingdom will be a minority. Muslim population is growing. More people coming in on dinghies are coming in from the Middle East. You need to pay attention to see how things can happen. Richard Madley is basically saying, Sharia law is not going to happen in my lifetime. Yeah, you're like 69, 70 years old. Of course it's not going to happen in your lifetime. But what about in 2063? What about in 2073? What about in the year 2100, when white people become even more of a minority and people coming in from the Middle East become even more of a majority? Do you think they're going to subscribe to British values? They're not even doing it now as a minority. So when they become the majority, what makes you think that they're going to be doing it then? You need to understand what's going on and what can happen later on in the United Kingdom. You need to be smart. That was such a reckless conversation, and they're basically saying, because it's not affecting me now, I don't care. Yeah, but it's going to affect people in the UK in decades to come. So again, this goes to show how people like Barry Gardiner and Richard are just out of touch with the British public, and how left-wing politics is just failing all over the place. And this is why we're in the mess that we're in. This is why there's so much violence happening globally, because of the left. They're stoking up tensions. They're not really adhering to people's concerns. They're not trying to tackle that. They're worried about some left-wing ideology, and it's just boring. Everyone's just done with that. They want more money in their pocket. They want their countries back. They want their countries to be restored to its former greatness, and they just don't want all this madness happening in their country. And they're absolutely within their rights to say that without being called and labelled racist or far right or whatever. So yeah, as it pertains to this Sadiq Khan case, London is failing. It's failing. And Sadiq Khan needs to be held accountable, but we're seeing a reverse. We're seeing him get a bigger salary, 170k, for destroying London. And on top of that, we all know what he would advocate for if he had the chance. If he had the chance to implement Sharia law, don't think for 1 minute that he'd say, nah, I'm going to stick with British law. It's just not going to be the case. So real people that understand what's going on know what's going on, and these kind of people just want to stay asleep, so let them. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.